Good morning, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us again on the Moms Living a Life They Love Summit, where I am just having a grand old time talking to mommies across the nation who are juggling being a mommy and doing awesome things in business. And today's interview with Scarlett Palicki she is the creator and founder of the Family Focus blog, and you guys, it's one of the top mommy blogs in the nation. And she covers so many amazing things like things to do with your family and mindfulness and travel and healthy eating and so much more. But I'm super excited to hear what she has to say today. So Scarlett, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So I know that you are a mommy of two. So let's start there. Talk to us about your mommy life.
Okay. So my daughter just turned 12 and my son is about to turn 10, and so it's pretty ever changing. They're always going through new phases and everything, and I just can't believe how much they're growing up now that they're reaching that 10-year-old and older mark. It's pretty incredible, but it's awesome, and I just love being a mom, and they're both really wonderful kids, so it's fun times.
Yeah, I agree with you. Getting to that 10 and older, the 10 and 12, and then the tweens and the teens, you're definitely entering a new sphere of mommyhood, right?
Yeah. I was realizing with my daughter, I'm like, if she's 12, that means she's going to be leaving me in just 6 years. Oh my God. I have a lot of momming left to do.
I know. Well, talk to the audience about how the Family Focus blog was born, how you came up with the idea, or how you decided that you wanted to put your work out there while being a mommy.
Okay. Well, do you want, it was kind of a journey to even get there. That was, I used to work in retail store management. So I was a store manager for Express, and I really enjoyed that a lot. And it was going great. But when I became pregnant, I was like, well, I'm not gonna want to work nights and weekends anymore. This is not gonna work, So I was like, okay, I know what I really want to do is stay home with my kids and, raise my family. And I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to find something that I could do from home, So it took me quite a while to stumble upon blogging. At first, I was like, well, I don't know what I could do. I want to work at least a little bit part-time and make some extra income. And I actually started working for Starbucks part-time because they have benefits. And I was like, well, I can have benefits, and I did that for a little while, and I actually liked it. It was fun, but it wasn't, super fulfilling, and it wasn't that great because, it was like my husband would come home and I'd be like, okay, now see you later. I'll go part-time for a little bit. And so it was okay, but it wasn't exactly right. And then I tried some other things. I was like, well, maybe, I really loved Young Living oils and using them, but I just wasn't good at it as a business. So I was like, what can I do? And that was my big obstacle, was finding what I wanted to do. And then I met a friend who had a blog, and she did like craft projects and art projects on there and stuff. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I was watching the news one day, and I saw something about, they just featured someone who had their own story about doing social media marketing and how that was working out for them. And I was like, well, maybe I could try something, like that from home on the computer. Maybe I could start a blog or something. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to go for it. And I just found that I really loved blogging. It was something that just kind of came naturally to me, and it was something that at the time, like my son and my daughter were much smaller. It was about 7 years ago. So I was trying to, do it while they were napping and trying to, work around their schedule and stuff. But it was something that I could do when they were napping and work around their schedule. And it worked out perfectly for me in that way. And then it was also fun, because part of it is you want to, for me, was that you want to be able to make some extra income. And part of it is also just that you want to be able to, meet people and network a little bit outside of the home, and just have your own kind of life, So I found like a lot of times, like at school, I was Leo's mom, and then I was my husband's wife, and it was fun to have something where it was like just mine and just me doing something. So I really enjoyed blogging and just fell into it. It felt natural and right, and it was easy to keep going.
I love it. But, I look at where it's at today. You mentioned that you started this 7 years ago, and I appreciate you sharing just your thought process around, well, what would this other thing be? If, I want some adult stimulation, or I want some connection, or I want to get something out into the world. But how have you been able to take it from, where it was 7 years ago to one of the top mommy blogs in the nation? And what has that journey been like for you?
It's just been a continual learning journey. Like, I feel like all of life is a continual learning journey. And, this blogging process is the same thing. It was starting from like nothing for me. Like, I really wasn't even on social media. And I don't even know if I had really been on a blog before I started one. It was all new, but it was something I enjoyed learning about. So mostly I just did reading on the internet and just kind of, went as I went and I'm always reading, I'm always finding things and reading. I don't ever stop going, okay, now I've learned enough, that's it. Because it's always changing and there's always more to learn, especially on the internet. It's changing so rapidly. When I started, Pinterest didn't exist, Instagram didn't exist. And now I can't even imagine it without them. So you have to always be learning. You have to always be, keep your eye out for what's out there and what you can learn from other things, looking at other successful things, and getting ideas. Like I said, just, even meeting someone who had a blog and just gave me the idea that, hey, maybe I could do that, so you kind of have to always be open to learning and always be looking for something to learn and knowing, and good at knowing when and what's important, because there is so much out there and you don't have time for everything. So, only giving it your time if you really think okay, this is worth it. Let me see what I can learn. And always trying to learn something from what you do decide to give your time to.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, being an ongoing learner is just so essential. But I know that this probably hasn't always been easy. You talked about the time management piece of working on your business or your blog while the kiddos are napping. But what has been the biggest challenge that you have faced juggling family and business and career, and how have you overcome that challenge?
I'd say really, honestly, the biggest challenge for me was just finding the right thing to get into, like blogging, because I really didn't know, what I could do from home. I was like, what can I do? And I tried some different things and I was like, this isn't for me. So just finding that thing was the biggest challenge. And then after that, like you said, time management is always huge, just finding the time for it and making it consistent and, knowing that, okay, my priority is I really want to be home with the kids. I want to spend time with them. But at the same time, I'm trying to build something. It takes a lot of effort and energy. And, I don't want to feel guilty about giving my energy here. And I don't want to, not give my energy here. So just finding the right balance and making sure that everybody's happy, including my husband, so not finding time for him too, to make him feel special and make us have our special time together and not, so that's the biggest challenge is especially in the beginning when it takes so much just to, create it all. I feel like in the beginning is hard because you're not even sure, like, okay, I'm doing all this effort and is it going to pay off? Is it worth it? At least after it begins to pay off and it's worth it, you're like, okay, well, this will be worth it. I'm going to put this effort into it and it'll pay off. But in the beginning, you have no idea. You're just like, is anyone going to come read this? Is anyone going to notice what I'm doing? Is all this effort that I'm putting out worth it? So I think that is the hardest part, is getting over that hump and getting past that self-doubt and believing in yourself enough to try it consistently and to go for it.
And you're touching on so many important elements here, right? So the guilt of, are we spending our energy in the right places? And also overcoming insecurity and self-doubt and keeping moving forward. So what can you share with the audience about those two pieces, like overcoming guilt or overcoming self-doubt and staying focused on that long-term goal that sometimes in the beginning you can't even see is going to be a good return on your energetic investment? So how do you overcome some of those hurdles?
I say consistency is the biggest thing that you can do. And it sounds almost warring with those two ideas, but it's actually one with those two ideas because it's consistency. It doesn't have to be 8 hours every day consistent, but it's, devoting some time to it every day because your habits are so important. And if you are, I'll get to that later, I'll get to that later, I'll get to that later, then you'll probably never get to it at all. So if you're at least going, okay, I don't have a lot of time right now because my kids are young and I have so many other places and my energy is so low because of this and that and the other, but I'm going to devote, 2 hours to it every day. Then, or at nap time or whatever it is, that's what I did. I was always consistent. And so I didn't, maybe at the end of the 2 hours, I was like, God, I didn't get done anything that I wanted to, or enough that I wanted to, or I could do so much more. But I had to be able to say, this is, at least I gave my 2 hours. I put all of my energy into my 2 hours. I tried to prioritize as best I can. I'll try and do even better from what I learned today, tomorrow, and just keep going. And being able to go, okay, that was good enough. You gave it your best, and it's never going to be as much as you want it to be because you never have as much time as you want to have, but I feel good about I did enough, and at least I'm plugging away at it. Did this today, and I'll do it again tomorrow, and after a while, it all adds up. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture, probably on Instagram or Pinterest, but there's a deep canyon with a river running through it. And it's not the strength of the water so much as the persistence of the water, over time. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen immediately that it gets worn out, but if you keep applying the pressure, even if it's a little bit every day, it adds up to a difference. And you just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. And, the importance of habits, that stands out really strongly for me, the power of habits. So it sounds like you have a really good habit around, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours a day to my business or whatever it is. What other healthy habits do you have as a working mom that help you be productive or present or focused or, whatever it takes to actually hold yourself accountable to moving all of this forward every day?
I think I have a type of personality that I like work and I like getting things done. I like that feeling of moving forward and accomplishing something. So for me, my biggest challenge in a way is unplugging, is going, okay, I'm done now. And now I'm going to be with my kids fully. Now I'm going to read this book and I'm going to actually read the book and not wander away in my head, so, and same with, my husband's home, let me, focus on that instead of thinking about all the stuff that I didn't get done today. So for me, I think that the habit of doing is so easy and natural that I have to focus on the habit of, okay, let me relax. Let me, let go of that and let me move on and enjoy the time that I have to my family and actually enjoy it. Without feeling like, oh, I should be doing this or I could be doing that or whatever. So I think, for each person, it's a little different, but as long as you're thinking about it and your areas, then you can naturally, work with them. If you know that, hey, you're not so into work and that's hard for you, then you just plug away at it. You put your time clock on there and you do it. And that that's something that if you know your weakness, it's easy to work with your weakness. It's easy to address it, because you know what you need to do.
Yeah. So basically identify where and how you struggle and put some action around it. So for you, it's unplugging and being okay that was enough for one day. And for others, it might be committing to those 2 hours of uninterrupted work a day. But wherever the gap is, really being conscious around what you can do in your daily habits to, push through and overcome to the best of your ability.
Yes. And remembering what your priorities are, because for me, my priority is my family, but I have to remind myself of that sometimes because I get in that work mode where I'm like, oh, I wanted to do more. I wanted to get this done or that done, but to remind myself, okay, that's not really what's important. What's really important to you is spending time with your family, and here they are. So do it, So, and if it's the opposite, if you know that what your priority in that 2 hour time frame is to get something done, then you better put your priorities into that and get as much done as you can and make that time count so that you don't have to spend more than that 2 hours doing it or whatever it is that you're, trying to work on. So just having awareness and having your priorities straight is the beginning step.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to back up a little bit because you brought something up that is really important, and we actually haven't really dug in yet in this interview series. And it's about how do we keep kind of our marriages healthy or our partnerships happy while being a working mom, because a lot of times, you know, being a mom and the career, those become number one and number two, and husband is over here like, hey, you know, am I important? So what are some things that you do to keep the balance with your relationship going as well?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely an issue. I think anytime when someone, especially when they start maybe working for themselves or from home, because there's so much you can always do more. You know, at a normal job, you're usually done, and you can usually set it aside easier. But when you work for yourself, you're like, well, I could do more. I could do this. I could do that. So yeah, I'm, like I said, just trying to put it aside. You know, like, okay, now he's home. Let me make sure that I focus on him and how his day was, and actually listen and actually, you know, unwind and maybe watch some TV together or do whatever it is that works for you as a couple. But just that attention of going, okay, let me make him feel special now. Let me let him know that he matters, because of course they matter. And sometimes things that matter the most, it's easiest to put on the back burner because you think, oh, they're there for me, they'll understand. But it's not always easy for them to understand or to feel that unless you make them feel that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And how has he felt about this journey you've been on with your blog?
You know, I think that we are at a good place now. There were times, especially in the beginning, where, you know, he'd be like, oh, you spend so much time on that, you know, and he didn't feel like I would center enough back on him. And so that was something that I had to get better at doing, because, you know, like the kids would go to bed and they're 7:30, 8:30. Now it's like 8:30, but back then it was like 7:30. And, you know, I'd be like, oh, now I can get some more stuff done on the computer, instead of, you know, remembering that, okay, well, now this is my time to hang out with him too. And it's just a balance. You just have to find your balance and their balance and everybody's balance and make it all work. It's quite a challenge and a juggle, but if you're just being aware of how someone feels and being responsive to that, and being responsive in a way that's understanding, you know, like, because it's also easy for me to respond by going, what, I'm trying to get, you know, something that's important to me, and you don't want me to do it, instead of saying, okay, well, what this really means is that he wants to feel special. Like, because men, I don't think they're good at, it's not like they say, hey, I feel neglected. They say, like, why aren't you doing this? Or why aren't, you know, and then you feel defensive. And if you can put the defensive aside and go, you know what, this is actually wonderful. He wants to spend time with me. I need to, you know, I need to see it that way, and I need to make sure it happens.
Yeah, I love it. So translating their communication in our head. Doing translates to, I'd like some attention.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we've talked about a lot of different things, but if you had to summarize just some tips or words of wisdom that you would share with maybe a stay-at-home mommy right now who's thinking about launching a blog or a business, or even, you know, a mommy who's in the professional world and is thinking about starting a family, what would you encourage them to think about or do as they move forward in having both career and family?
I would encourage them to think about why, and have a good why. You know, what they really want from it. Is it that they want to make extra money? Is it that they want to, you know, have that outside outlet or that chance for creativity? You know, to really think about what they want and why, because it's important that you know that. You know, for me, like, the most important thing was I wanted to be able to stay home with my kids. That was what I wanted, and that was what limited all my job opportunities. I was like, what can I do? There's like nothing left. You know, what can I do from home? But knowing what was important to me and why I wanted to do it eventually helped me find how to do it, you know. But you got to know the why, and then once you have that, it helps you find the how, and it helps you find the right how, you know. And you may not find it immediately, but you've got to enjoy whatever it is that you decide to put your time into, because you probably won't be successful at it if you don't. If you don't, like I did a few things, like I said before, I found blogging or where like independent consultant, type thing, and I was like, I'm just not good at this. Like I don't want to do this, so I'm just not doing it to the best of my ability, and I'm kind of trying, but I'm not. I just knew it wasn't right for me. You got to find something that's right for you and that you enjoy so that you can get behind it and really make it happen, because it takes that, especially when you're driving for yourself. If you're doing, someone else's business, it's easier to just do what you think you need to do. But when it's your own business, it's easy not to do it if you don't want to do it. You have to want to do it. You have to like doing it, because there's no one there to say, hey, are you doing this? But you. You're the only one. So you have to enjoy it. You have to like it. So find something that really matters to you, and find something that you know why you're doing it. You know why it's important to you. And then you're more likely to succeed at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really digging into your why. I think, when I'm having the most difficult weeks, or I feel pulled in too many directions, or exhausted, or like I just want to basically quit life. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I remember my why. I go back to that, and I find that to be the boost sometimes I need to get over the hardest of times. It's like, well, my why is that, I want to show my kid that you can chase a dream, and I want to spend time with my kids, and I want to be financially secure, and I want to help empower women. And that usually pushes me to like, go ahead and get going again, honey. Just keep going, because your why is deep. I mean, that is like hard work, core.
Why is what will make you succeed. That will make you succeed if you have it. If you don't have it and you're just like, maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try that. You're probably, going to try it, but you're not going to succeed at it. You're not going to continue at it. You're not going to enjoy it if you don't have that why,
Mm-hmm. And how did you know, or what clicked when you started blogging? What happened where you felt, oh yeah, this is it. This is my thing that I want to offer the world, and my thing that I want to do? How did you know?
Like I said, I mean, it's not like I magically knew. I just kind of stumbled into it, and I was like, yes, this is it, because I liked, I liked that I was creating something. I mean, it's online, but I get to push publish, and there's something there that I created that people can see, that I can share with the world. And it's exciting, and I can share it with people from all over, and I don't even have to necessarily meet all of them, but if I made something, for me personally, if I made something, you just gotta know you love it. And I just knew I loved it when I hit publish, and I felt like, this is it. I made something, and people can see it, and it felt good.
I hear you on the hitting publish. I don't know why that feels so good, but it does feel like a serious accomplishment.
Yeah, because you know that you put a lot of work into that, and now other people can see the work you put into it. Because before you hit publish, it was all just your work, and no one could see it at all. So that's the difference, is that you get to go, hey, I'm bringing this out for people to get to have a look at, and we'll see how it does.
That's so awesome. And I know this is a perfect segue, because I know that you are sharing two amazing pieces that you've written. And one of them talks about, if you are interested in blogging, how to get more subscribers. So tell us about your two articles, but how about we start with the blogging one, and maybe you can share one tip from that blog about what moms could do to really get that work out there.
Okay. So this first one is about how to increase your blog readership and sponsorship. And it's an older piece that I wrote, but it's very relevant, and it's very, it's also not relevant just for bloggers, but anyone who has a website and anyone who has an online presence to communicate with their customers. I mean, it's all about having a professional, objective viewpoint when you look at a page, and how to grow your social media networks, and how to make them evident to your followers and readers so that they can interact with you there. So it's all about increasing your availability to the readers, and to the sponsors at the same time. So that's what that's about. The other one is mindful parenting checklist. And that is just to help you so that when you're not working, if you're like me, you can unplug a little bit easier and remember what's important and remember how to calm your mind a little bit and be more in the present and be more where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And can you share just a little tidbit with the group now, just to kind of entice them? Like, what is one thing on that checklist that they could do to be more present with their kids or outside of being with the kids?
One thing is having a meditation, and like 5 minutes to 30 minutes a day. And I don't mean like that you have to, that's not, you don't have to do it, and you don't have to do it the whole time in the way that you might think meditation is, but it's about just letting your mind rest and be in a more restful state. It's like, even, when you're having a cup of coffee in the morning, that can be a restful thing where you're just, coming into your body and relaxing and having your coffee. Or it can be like, oh, let me read the news and let me like do 10 things while I'm doing it. So it can be all kinds of different ways, but it's about having that restful state and letting your mind be in the body and not busy and firing. So, and then that helps you when you're in maybe a situation where you're finding stressful, helps you to be able to return to that and to be able to, breathe and just, return to that kind of restful state because you're familiar with it. Because half the time we're all so busy running around that we don't ever get that restful state, or we aren't sure how to evoke that calm when we need to evoke it because we're just so wired.
It's so true. I mean, we naturally are just juggling so many balls in our brains, like the kiddos' doctor's appointments and what's going on with their school and our business and our husband and our friends. Like, we constantly have about 100 things going, and the benefit of slowing that down and quieting that down is like what you said, you're able to access that at other points when maybe you're overstimulated or dysregulated emotionally. And over time, so if you talked about during coffee, and I love this because a lot of times I hear moms say, I don't have time for one more thing. And I hear you, I feel you, I understand that feeling, but you're already going to have that morning coffee, or you're already going to have that morning shower. That's already kind of budgeted into your time in the day. And quieting that down instead of getting more information is going to allow you to remain a little bit more mindful and focused throughout the day. And those minutes add up. So even if it starts with 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day times 7 days a week, times the months, times the year, at the end of your life, you've actually given yourself a substantial break. And that has a huge impact just on your, stress level and physiologically and psychologically and all of that. So thank you for sharing the coffee thing. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah. And it's just about, if you can do that, that's when your real joy comes. Like, think about it, that when you're on vacation and you don't have a list of things to do, that's why vacations are so fun, or the part that you enjoy about them is that you don't have that list and you get to actually just be there and be in the moment. And if you can bring that to yourself, even for just 5 minutes every morning of just being in the moment, it helps you in general. And if you can bring that to yourself more than that, then it's really an important thing to do for yourself, and for what you give to other people.
Absolutely. And when I think also about maybe there's a mom who's listening, who's still trying to connect to that why, or still trying to tap into the creative idea, product, or service they want to launch in the world. For me personally, anyways, meditation is a tool for me to access my best creativity, my best ideas, my whys, my intuition. I access my intuition through meditation. So it can also serve as a vehicle if you're in that place where you don't know what your thing is yet, or how to proceed with moving forward with really anything in your life. So, I can't say enough about it either.
Yes. And I think what you just said hits on another important point for me, which is really, like you said, your intuition. And it's, for me, I call it like trusting my gut, but I think trusting your gut is huge. It's so huge and so important in so many ways in your life. But yeah, you have to be able to listen to it to trust it, so you have to be able to say, okay, what do I really feel here? And is that something how can I act on that? Because what you really feel in your gut is usually what's really right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes we're just too busy thinking and planning and plotting that we miss the signal of the gut. But the gut,
or we're too busy thinking, oh, we couldn't do that, that couldn't work because of blah blah blah, and instead of going, you know what, I really want that to work and it really feels good, and you know what, I can make that work, because if it feels this good, it'll work. I'll find a way to make it work, you know. So you have to be able to listen to that.
I love it. What a beautiful closing remark. Listen to your gut, my friends. So you guys, those 2 articles, those 2 blogs, those 2 pieces are going to be in the links in this email that you received today for this interview. And thank you so much for sharing that with the audience, and also just sharing all of your pieces with the world. You're doing some pretty incredible stuff. And you guys, if you haven't had a chance to check out the Family Focus blog, I highly recommend you do. It's just a lot of information, resources, funny. It's everything. So Scarlett, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your story and to share some really good tips with us.
Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk real soon. And for the audience, as always, there's going to be a couple follow-up questions to keep the conversation going. And know that both Scarlett and I are here as resources. And we'll see you tomorrow.